This is a bow from one of the guys at the club. It's lifted a splinter on the bamboo back. Meow, says Emily Cat. Yeah, I came in the garage to find she was already in here. I must have been in and shut the door on her. She's making a fuss now. Do you want to go out the front? Come on then. Anyway, I don't much like the bow because at every node you can feel snags and splinters. And I ran the back of my hand across it and it really, well, you really feel it there. Yeah, at every node you can feel it's rough. Also it's very rounded. It's a sort of oval cross section and the bamboo is actually rather thick. To my mind that bamboo backing is a bit on the thick side. So anyway, I've said it needs rebacking, and what I'll do is I'll have to measure how thick it is, because if I did the bamboo how thin I normally do it, we'd be underweight. So in fact what I might do is take the bamboo off, take about half of it off and then back it. Yeah, we'll see. Yeah, I've taken some measurements of the thickness where you can see 15mm thick at the knock. It's a lot thicker than it should be. Should be ½ inch or a lot less. It's only a £60 bow for pity's sake, so it's carrying a lot of excess weight. But I'll try and keep roughly to those figures to get the draw weight about the same. Right, I'll take the grip off and I'll rip that bamboo off with a draw knife, see how it goes. As I'm ripping off the bamboo with a draw knife, you can see at almost every node it's just lifting splinters on its own. The nodes have just been taken down far too far, because there's a sort of natural step where it bulges up and then you get a sharp ridge. I think you should take the ridge off but leave that slight bulge where the fibres come up and meet. Now that was a good workout. You can see how the horn knocks have been done, and I've gone through the bamboo to the core wood there. They're a bit pointy, I prefer a more graceful blend into the knock. I'm not going to take all the bamboo off, because if I did I'd then have the problem of cleaning up the glue line and getting back to sound core wood, which would mean I'd have taken a tiny bit off, which would mean the new backing had to be even thicker than the old one, which was in my opinion too thick in the first place. So I'll stick a new belt on my belt sander, clean that up nice and clean, fresh and flat on the belt sander, and then stick a new bamboo back on it. Prepare the bamboo back next, which begs the question, have I got any bamboo? Oh look, yes boys and girls, I've got some bamboo. Ah, I'm in luck. One of the bits of bamboo's already been roughed out on the bandsaw, and you can probably see how that's been done. What I do is I saw off this face, but at an angle to give me a nice thin edge here, still leaving a bit of the central hole in the middle of the bamboo, if you like. And then I saw similarly from that edge. So what we've got now is we've got a raised ridge in the centre, but I've taken off a lot of bulk either side. So now what I'll do is I'll clamp that onto a nice long bit of 2x2, and I'll get my plane and plane this central area away until it becomes flat. It shows up better here. This was the, you know, the hole in the middle of the bamboo, if you like. it's easy to think you could get away doing it all on a belt sander, but you'd be there forever because there's quite a thickness of timber to remove off the edge. I'll show you one that hasn't been sawn for comparison. So there you go, that's one that hasn't been sawn through the bandsaw, and you can see how much thickness we've got here, which ironically looks more like the thickness of backing on that bow. So that bow is probably yeah, backing is just a little bit thick in my opinion. Other people use full thickness backings and, you know, don't have any problems. I think the problem was the ridge. I'll show you what I mean here while I'm videoing bamboo. That's now surely. Right, can you see? It swells up and you've got a slight step just there, from about there to here. Then you've got the ridge, then it sweeps down again. Well, I think it's fine to come in level with this and take the ridge off, but don't go down beyond that step, which is what had happened on the other one, and it exposed a load of sort of dots here where the fibres all come up and swell up into that node. Just wave my camera around in the optimistic hope that the damn thing will focus. Yeah, that sort of shows it. You've got you've got this line across here. You don't want to dig into that, just take the ridge off. Now we look at the bit that's come off that bow I'm reworking, and you can see it's exposed all sorts of stuff there, and you can see where it's split. It's just naturally separated along that line. I haven't dug in there, that's just where it's separated on its own. So draw your own conclusions. In fact, here's a very good illustration of what I mean. I flatten off the ridge a little bit so that when I clamp it to me 2x2 I can plane away the belly nicely. And you can see exactly how far I rasp it down. I get rid of the ridge, but I don't touch this step this side. You can just see that like a line of shadow almost where the step is. So that's how much I take off. I mean, I've had a bamboo back lift before now, but that was on a £110 bow, not a 60 pounder. So everyone has failures, but on the one I'm doing now, every node had signs of, you know, cracking and lifting, and if you ran a bit of cloth over it, it'd snag at every node. So I think that's a pretty good indication. Anyway, clamp it back down, back to me planing. Right, I've run the back of the bow through the belt sander. You can see I've still got a fair amount of bamboo there. I may take that middle down a bit more. What I'll do is I'll dry assemble it and measure the thickness, see how I am compared to the original. That's cleaned up the, that's interesting, couple of little marks there. Tiny little holes in the bamboo, which is why I probably didn't use this bit before for a flight bow where you want perfection, but for this 60 pounder it will be alright. Nice new belt on the belt sander, and today's fashion tip: wear a Kevlar glove when you've just put a new belt on your belt sander. I did a boo-boo on my knuckle. Oh no 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 no. Anyway, it's character forming, a little bit of blood. Right, so I'll dry assemble that. I can also mark the width of this bamboo and cut it roughly to shape, so then I can strap it all up better. Right, that's the bow lying on top of the bamboo, so you can see there's a considerable amount of overlap, and although the bamboo is wafer thin on the edge, by the time that's been cut along to match up to the bow, it'll be quite thick again. So, and I've taken a measurement. It was a bit fat, so I've cut it and taken another one. We're about 29.8. at the grip, whereas before we were 28.3. We're a whisker thicker, but I can always take a bit off the belly. I don't want to be thinner, that's the main thing. So now I'll draw round where the bamboo needs to be cut, trim that, run it through the bandsaw, and then I'll get it glued up. Now I'm rather rushing at this. People always say, how long does it take to make a bow? Well, I probably started about 8 o'clock this morning, maybe half 8, I don't know. It's 11 o'clock now. Why am I rushing at it? I'm rushing at it so I can get it glued up tonight and the glue can dry overnight. So we'll see. And this will probably be sort of half a day's work getting this much done. And a lot of people say, certainly Richard Head says he hates rebacking bows, it's not worth the effort. You're better off just making a new bow, which is fine. But I mean, I wouldn't do this normally, it's just for one, it's for one of the guys at the club. And why isn't the bow you're doing it? Well, apparently he's swanning about on a yacht somewhere and has given up making bows. But like I said, just doing it for a mate. And I enjoy it, keeps me out of mischief. You know, I'll charge him a few quid or whatever and it'll keep me in wine for a day or two. Now, you have to be careful when you're working with bamboo, and just to prove it, there's a nice splinter. Right, so where I'd planed the bamboo down to wafer thickness, where it's now been narrowed, of course it looks a lot fatter because the thin edges have been cut away. So what I might just do is offer that up to the bow and check the overall thickness at mid limb again. Because I can always just run it on the belt sander and fine taper the limbs a bit. It's difficult, we look a bit fat there. I might take that down, scribble a pencil mark on it just to let me see. Cleaner on this limb, a little bit fat that side. Yeah, tart that up on the belt sander and think about getting it glued up. That's the other thing, how do I strap it up to glue it? Bamboo side down, or just strap it up to the bow as is, or do I pull the bow a little bit flatter? So it's got a tiny bit of set on it. If we look down the bow, a little bit of set mid limb, so I could pull it down flat straight against the back of the bow, or I could pull it into a very slight reflex. Decisions. There's one of my forms that has a little hint of reflex. Not a lot, it's about an inch. So if I glue it up on that, the holes all along there so I can stick G-clamps on. If I glue it up using that should revitalise the bow a little bit. The question though is, will that make it too stiff? Increase the draw weight too much and stop it reaching 31-inch draw? I could play safe and just glue it up flat. But if you bear in mind the bow is slightly tapered, what looks to be, I don't know, say an inch or so of reflex there, you'll lose a bit because of the taper of the bow. Now here we are. Look, what I'll do is I'll put a straight edge across the former there, and we'll stick a tape measure in, and we can see exactly how much reflex it's got. There you go. What's that, about inch and 3/4, inch and a half? We'll allow for the fact that the bow tapers quite a bit anyway, from sort of, I don't know, half an inch to an inch and a half. That will take out some of that, so I think that will be fine. So it's quite interesting that if I put the bow on the former the wrong way up, you can see the set that it's taken almost matches the curve of the former. So when I turn the bow up the correct way for gluing, we're going to be pulling all that set out and gluing a new back on it, which should revitalise it substantially. If it's too stiff, I can take wood off the belly and, you know, generally reshape the bow, make it a little bit narrower as well, so it's got a bit less width for the arrow to wriggle round. There we go. I've got cold feet about clamping it up with reflex, but then I realised I didn't have a long enough straight bit of wood to use as a form, so I just had to go for it. So there you go. We'll see what it's like tomorrow.